Karohi Street. Today is the 1st day of August, the year 2025, case number 854 of the year 2025. Quorum consists of Presiding Officer Magistrate Zamuzala, Public Prosecutor Ms. Hinda standing in for Advocate Lilungwe. For applicant 1 and 2 is Mr. Gadundana standing in for Mr. Namanje. For applicant 4 as well as applicant 5 is Mr. Bangawambo. Applicant 6, Mr. Casper. Applicant 7, Ms. Gebert. Mr. Casper is standing in for Ms. Gebert. The silent observers of these proceedings, accused number 2, Cornelius Willemse. Mr. I6 is here for accused number 2, Your Worship. Accused number 8 also before court, that's Panduleni Amukwaya, appearing in person. Stage is ready to proceed. Court, please.
Please, Court, Your Worship, I confirm my appearance as before. That is for 4th and the 5th applicant. We are ready to proceed, Your Worship.
As it pleases the court, Your Worship, I confirm appearance on behalf of the 1st and 2nd applicants.
May it please the court, Your Worship, I continue appealing on that acquiesces.
May it please Your Worship, I appeal our case number 2 as on watching day.
We can proceed. Ms. Hinda, maybe before you proceed, say I want you to, for the record, can you indicate to the court your qualifications?
I hold a diploma in policing, a bachelor degree in forensic investigations. Both qualifications are issued by the University of South Africa. I also hold a master's in business administration obtained from International University of Management here in Namibia, Your Worship.
Ms. Hinda, you
Can
proceed.
you just raise your voice? Your age, I think yesterday you also did not establish your age.
44.
Okay. Chief, you may proceed with your testimony. Yesterday you've informed this honorable court that Mr. Mulunga signed the agreement on the 18th day of July, the year 2022. Thereafter you went into Erongo. You can just proceed from there.
Yes. Maybe just to go back to the signing of the agreement by Mr. Mulunga on the 18th.
Which agreement?
The
Just
asset purchase
bring us on
agreement.
board.
Yes, I confirm in terms of the investigations established that Mr. Mulunga had signed the agreement, the asset purchase agreement, on the 18th of July 2022. And of course, there was no procedures whatsoever followed as far as the procurement or the budget policy or the financial procedures of Namcor. There was no considerations to that effect.
Just pause. Yes.
Immediately after the agreement was signed by Mr. Mulunga on the 18th, the following day, which was the 19th of July 2022, at exactly 09:17 hours in the morning, an invoice of 53,212,000 was sent by a certain Miss Rebecca Erastus of Enacon to Miss Jennifer Amukwaya.
Just pause. Yes, you may proceed.
To which Ms. Amukwaya requested the payment to be processed, or rather sent the invoice to Ms. Olivia Dunaiski, and as well as Mr. Willemse for them to certify the invoice.
Pause. Yes.
This was through an email. Simultaneously, that email was sent to one of the subordinates of Mr. Mukwaya, Martha Shikongo, Your Worship.
Just pause. Yes.
That was 5 minutes later, which was around 0921.
You may proceed.
In which he had instructed Ms. Martha to prepare or to initiate the payment process.
Who instructed Martha?
Ms. Mukwaya, Your Worship. Subsequent to that, Mr. Willemse certified the invoice together with Mr. Davis Mafosa,
Which invoice are we referring to?
the invoice for the purchase of the assets in respect of the payment being made by Namcor to Enacon.
Yes.
And Mr. Mafosa had actually certified on behalf of Ms. Dunaiski, as there was an email in which he was requested to certify the invoice on her behalf as she was not in the office.
Yes.
Your Worship, in order to verify the allegations, as part of the allegations was that the assets sold by Enacon were encumbered to the Ministry of Defense through an agreement which was signed on the 15th of September 2015.
What's the date?
15 September 2016, Your Worship?
You earlier said 2015.
2015, I'm speaking under correction here, Your Worship.
Okay.
2016, Your Worship.
Yes.
Your Worship, part of the investigations was to establish, rather to verify the allegations, and therefore we visited the Ministry of Defense. In fact, Your Worship, the investigations conducted at the Ministry of Defense was in twofold. The first part of it relates to the agreement between Defense and Enacon on the supply of fuel.
Just hold. Yes.
Whereas the second part of the investigations was relating to the invoices, or rather the purchase orders that were issued by the Ministry of Defense in favor of Enacon and as well as the invoices that were received by the Ministry of Defense from Enacon for the period August through to December 2022, Your Worship.
The invoices received from?
From Enacon by Ministry of Defense.
And what's the period that you just gave?
1 August to December 2022.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Your Worship, it was established through the investigations with the Ministry of Defense that indeed there was a 15-year agreement, and therefore the allegations were confirmed. And this was the fuel supply agreement between the Ministry of Defense and ENACON.
Yes.
The agreement was running for a period of 15 years and it was due to expire in 2031, Your Worship.
Can you inform the court what the agreement entails from your investigations?
Uh,
You may proceed.
Yes. Among others, the agreement provided that ENACON would supply the Ministry of Defense
Yes.
with petroleum products for the said period.
Yes.
And that they would continue with other services that they were rendering for the Ministry of Defense, which includes the fuel management system.
Yes.
And at that point, the agreement was between the two institutions, that is Ministry of Defense and ENACON, was still in force.
Yes.
And it became evident through the investigations that ENACON had not informed the Ministry of Defense that they were selling the assets that were sold to Namcor by ENACON.
Yes.
Because these assets were situated on the military bases.
Yes.
And in terms of the agreements between Ministry of Defense and ENACON, the assets that were sold by ENACON would become assets of Ministry of Defense once the contract was fulfilled by 2031, Your Worship.
By which year?
2031.
You may proceed.
And the ministry only became aware of the disposition, rather only became aware that ENACON had sold these assets after the minister inquired from the executive director after the civil came, or rather the civil case was launched in the High Court by Namcor, Your Worship. Yes, Namcor. Upon which they tried to seek clarity from ENACON through August 26, Your Worship, which is a subsidiary or an entity owned by the Ministry of Defense.
Yes.
Now, interestingly, Your Worship, these are the very assets that were sold by Enacon to Namcor.
Yes.
In actual fact, Your Worship, from the 18th, or rather from the 19th of July 2022, when the payment was made, through to April 2023, I believe when Mr. Mulunga was suspended, this was unknown to the board, or rather the acquisition of the assets was unknown to the board. In fact, it was unknown to the entire Namcor.
Just pause. May I proceed?
Yes, as the same was only reported anonymously during April 2023, Your Worship, and that is the time Namcor board became aware that Namcor Trading had actually acquired these assets. It was interesting to note that despite the acquisition of the said assets, Your Worship,
Yes.
it was business as usual, in a sense that Enacon, Namibia, continued supplying fuel to the Ministry of Defense as per the agreement with the defense. Despite having sold those assets on 18 July, Your Worship, 2022. Until today, as far as the investigations has established, Namcor has never enjoyed or received any benefit for having acquired these assets. Which begs the question as to why was these assets actually sold to Namcor in the first place.
I understand that the witness is busy narrating his story, but I know now a question is being asked by the witness. I wonder who will answer the question.
Yeah, I understand he just put a question himself. It's,
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Question, if our clients were standing there doing that, this court will tell you. In fact, you did it with even as a require. You told them you can't ask questions.
Yes, but
And we don't need the drama, Your Worship. Even as he stands there, Your Worship, he keeps giving a commentary. It is interesting to know. You must just keep his story, Your Worship. That's it.
yes, I understand. But the way he put it, he stated that it was the question was why were these assets? As I am not, from my understanding, just a minute. That's why I did not tell him you cannot ask questions. From my understanding is that he is just posing a question without expecting any answer from.
But that's the problem, Your Worship. He cannot pose the question. That's the bottom line, Your Worship.
Yes, but the question is not posed to anyone. It just appears to me it's a rhetoric question. Why were the assets sold?
Which is not needed, Your Worship.
We are on record. We can proceed.
You can proceed, Chief. Just pause there. You may proceed, Chief.
Thank you. If I can maybe perhaps indicate as well that when the assets were acquired, they were listed as far as the nature and description of the assets that Namcor Trading was buying.
Just give us that. Yes.
These assets were listed in the offer that was made on the 15th of July 2022. An offer which was accepted on behalf of Enacon by Mr. Peter Alindi and Malaki Alindi.
Yes.
At that point in time, Your Worship, the nature, the description, the evaluation was conducted as to what is it that Namcor was intending to buy from Enacon. The offer was also annexed to the asset purchase agreement.
Yes.
And as well as the evaluation that was conducted by the engineering team, Your Worship. The engineering team, as indicated yesterday, they physically went to the different sites.
Just slow down. You can proceed.
Where they physically saw the assets that they indicated in the evaluation report. Took pictures of their visits to those destinations.
Yes.
Your Worship, on the 19th, after the invoice was received and certified correct,
19th.
July 2022,
Yes.
immediately thereafter, money was paid, or rather, 2 transactions were made by Namcor Trading to Enacon's 2 accounts. Of which an amount of 35 million was paid into Enacon's account ending with 848.
35 million was paid to?
Enacon's account
Yeah.
ending with 848. And the remain, my apologies, Your Worship.
Yes.
My apologies. The account, 35 million was paid to the account ending with 520,
Yes.
not 848.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, you may proceed.
The remaining balance of 18,212 was paid to Enacon's account ending with 848. And that was on the 19th of July, 2022.
Yes.
As per the agreement between the two entities, the amount of 35 million was paid back to Namcor in order to offset the debt that Enacon had incurred with Namcor.
Please, may I just repeat that?
The 35 million was paid back to Namcor Trading in order to offset the debt of 35 million that was incurred by Enacon following the agreement signed on the 16th of March 2022, Your Worship.
Which agreement was that?
The fuel supply agreement. Your Worship, it is important to note that Enacon only had a credit limit of 15.5 million in terms of that agreement signed, the fuel supply agreement signed on 16 March.
Credit agreement of how much?
Of 15.5 million.
And you said that was in terms of the fuel supply agreement.
That's correct.
Yes.
But by the 19th of July, they had exceeded this credit limit with at least 20 million euros.
19 July, which year?
2022. And hence,
Please just repeat that. By 19 July, what happened? Just repeat.
by 19 July 2022, Enacon had a debt of 35 million, hence the repayment from the money which Namcor had paid to Enacon.
Yes.
Your Worship, at that point, if one were to include the 73 million debt which Enacon had, or rather which EcoFuel investment had ceded to Enacon,
Just pause there. Yes.
the total exposure in terms of the value owed by Enacon towards Namcor Trading was around 108 million.
Yes.
jumping back to the account in which 18 million was paid, 18,212,000 was paid.
Yes.
Immediately after this payment was received in Enacon's account ending with 848.
You may proceed.
An amount of 3.6 million, which is 3,613,000, Your Worship.
3,613,000
was paid on the same date from Enacon's account ending with 848. Into an entity called Onyeka Clearing and Forwarding CC, Your Worship. This entity is owned, Onyeka Clearing and Forwarding is owned by Mr. Malakia Elindi and his wife, Lydia Elindi, who holds 50% interests each. Of this 3.6 million, Your Worship, $1.5 million each was paid to Mr. Peter Elindi and Malakia Elindi. It's personal accounts held at Bank Windhoek.
Just pause there. Yes.
There was also an amount of 9.5 million.
Okay, before you proceed, who are the signatories to this account?
The signatories to Onyeka Clearing CC includes Mr. Peter Elindi, Malakia Elindi, as well as Lydia Elindi.
Can I proceed?
Your Worship, an amount of 9.5 million was paid on the same date, which is the 19th of July 2022, to an entity called Eco Trading CC.
Just pause. Yes.
Which at the time was 100% interest held by Simaneka Victor Malima.
No, proceed.
Your Worship, upon receipt of these funds into the account of a Bank Windhoek account of Eco Trading, funds were dispersed, Your Worship, to various entities and immediately, Your Worship, I believe the date should have been the 20th of July 2022. Yes, 22. An amount of 1,040,000. Was debited from the said account of Eco Trading and credited into the account of Parkwood Petroleum.
Yes.
In terms of the BIPA registration documents, Parkwood Petroleum was 100% owned by Mr. Willemsen.
Just pause. Yes.
Who at the time was still in the employment of Namcor. As manager, supply and logistics. And your worship, this was the very same money which was paid from his employer at the time to Enacom.
Yes.
Another amount, your worship, of 1,470,000 Namibian dollars.
1,470,000.
470
Yes.
was paid into a bank window account of quality meat supplies. An entity which I indicated yesterday is owned by Ms. Eleni Itana. To which Mr. Simaneka is the beneficial owner, and subsequent to that, he is the signatory to the bank account.
Yes.
Your worship, when this money, or rather when this credit was received in the account of quality meat supplies, immediately an amount of 960,000 Namibian dollars was paid into the account of Mr. Willemsen, his personal account held at Standard Bank. This money, your worship, was still the very same money which was originally paid by Namcor to Enacon, and then from Enacon to Eco Trading, and then from Eco Trading into quality meat supplies, and ended up into the account of Mr. Willemsen.
Just pause. You may proceed.
The remaining balance of 500 from the 1.7 from the 1.470.
Remaining balance of?
There should have been a remaining balance of 510, Your Worship, of which an amount of 500,000 was paid into the account of Panduleni family.
Yes.
At that time, Panduleni farming was 100% owned by Mr. Panduleni.
Just pause. Yes.
The husband of Miss Jennifer Namcor, who at the time was the executive finance and administration at Namcor, basically the chief financial advisor.
What was the position? Executive?
Executive finance and administration. Your Worship, in order for this money to leave the account of Namcor, the 53 million, it was approved by Ms. Namcor.
Just pause.
Your Worship, a transaction of 1.5 million was also debited from the account of Eco Trading CC.
Just may you repeat that? Transaction of?
1.5 million and credited into an account of EcoFuel Investment, CC.
Please just repeat that.
An amount of 1.5 million was debited from the account of Eco Trading, CC, and credited into the account of EcoFuel Investment, CC. Now,
Yes.
so EcoFuel Investment, CC, was at the time owned by Johanna Mujeko and Martha Antindi.
Yes.
And Your Worship, this money was withdrawn in cash at Nedbank in 2 parts immediately after it was received.
Do you know when this money was withdrawn?
I'm speaking under correction, Your Worship, somewhere between 2021 of July 2022.
Yes.
And it was withdrawn into the first 700,000 and 800,000, which made up 1.5. Although the entity EcoFuel Investment was owned by Johanna Mujeko and Martha Antindi, the signatories to the specific bank account in which this money was paid
Just yes.
West Maneka Victor Malima, Austin Elindi, and Connie van Beek.
Were your investigations able
Just
to...
slow down
Sorry, Your Worship.
before you proceed. You testified that the amount of 1.5 million Namibian dollars was withdrawn cash in 2 parts.
That's correct, Your Worship.
Do you know who withdrew the amount?
Mr. Connie van Beek,
That's what I was about to ask now, Your Worship. Thank you. Who withdrew the money?
Mr. Connie van Beek.
You can proceed.
Your Worship, it must also be noted that in terms of the addresses provided on Eco Fuel Investment CC, as well as the postal address, Your Worship.
Please just slow down. Just repeat that in terms of the addresses.
They have similar addresses, both Eco Fuel Investment and Eco Trading CC. As far as the BIPA documentation is concerned, the address provided there is number 15, Hammerkop Street, Auckland Park, which happens to be the address of Mr. Peter Elindi.
Yes.
Your Worship, just to go back slightly to Onyeka. There were 2 additional payments made by Enacon amounting to 200,000 Namibian dollars between 20 July and 25 July.
Just pause. Yes.
Which resulted in Onyeka having received at least 3.8 million, Your Worship, between the 19th and the 25th of July 2022 from Enacon.
Give us a timeline, the period again.
Is it between 19 to 25 July 2022?
Yes.
Of which an amount of 213,000 was transferred to an entity called Nyambali Medical.
How much amount?
213,000.
Yes.
And Your Worship, investigations established that Nyambali Medical is owned 48.5% each by Mr. Peter and Malakia Alindi. Of which the remaining percent is in the name of a certain Adele Conradi.
Yes.
Your Worship, this money was paid, and I'm speaking under correction, Your Worship, whether it's DBN. Yes, DBN, Your Worship.
Which money are you talking about?
The 212,000 and something was paid to DBN, Your Worship.
TBN, what do you mean?
Development Bank of Namibia. from the account of Nyambali. I must also indicate, Your Worship, in terms of the account opening documentations of Nyambali, there is a resolution indicating that the only signatories to the account, or the specific account, Bank Windhoek account, is Mr. Peter and Malachi Alindi.
Just pause there. Yes.
Your Worship, going back to eco trading, there was another 1 million that was paid, Your Worship. I'm speaking under correction to verify on the bank statement later. I believe somewhere 20 July 2022, Your Worship. It is still part of the money that initially originated from Namcor. This money was paid into an entity by the name Venus Technology.
Just pause. Yes.
Venus Technology is owned 100% interests by Austin Elindi. It was part of this money, Your Worship, where an amount of $10,000 was paid into savings account of Ms. Tunaiski at the beginning of August 2022.
Did you say savings bank account?
That's correct, Your Worship.
Yes.
Your Worship, the other million, there were some credits, cash deposits added into the account of Venus Technology around about the same time, subsequent to which the money was used to deposit a vehicle in the amount of $1,184,000 million.
Can you just elaborate on that?
What amount?
1 million.
$1,184,000
Yeah.
was used to pay for a deposit on a hire purchase of a vehicle bought by Austin Elindi from Bank Windhoek. Your Worship, another transaction which happened immediately thereafter the credit was received by Eco Trading was an amount of 1.2 million.
Can you, before you proceed, Chief, can you just tell the court did you do investigations on this vehicle, who owns the vehicle, anything with regard to the vehicle?
Your Worship, at this point, it's perhaps, if the court of course allows me, if I could say that the vehicle was initially purchased by Mr. Austin Elindi. However, the vehicle has since changed ownership as far as the registrations with Metis is concerned, Your Worship. we are still following up. We know in whose name is currently registered, but it's registered in somebody else's name. The vehicle is being used by somebody else.
Okay.
So without me disclosing that name, Your Worship,
Okay.
but that is the current status,
Okay, you say you're still investigating.
That's correct.
Investigating that.
Your
Okay.
Worship.
You may proceed.
Yes, Your Worship, there was an amount of 1.2 million that was paid into an entity called Oshali Fuel Investment, CC.
Yes.
Oshali is owned by a gentleman with the name Simeon Nangolo, Your Worship. Simeon Anjene Nangolo.
Angele.
Anjene, something like that. Your Worship, this amount is credited in the bank window account also. And we know that this amount, Your Worship, it was subsequently after being received into the said account.
Just pause. Just pause. Yes.
Paid to Namcor by Oshali Fuel Center, Your Worship.
Was it the whole amount paid? 1.2 million.
Your Worship, there were some other funds at this point. I know the whole amount, I think there were some added amounts, but it was wholly paid to Namcor.
Yes.
Your Worship, having looked at how the distribution of the funds that were received from Namcor was applied,
Just pause. Yes.
and taking into considerations that Namcor had bought assets, which they never used, from 18 July to date, Your Worship,
18th July, which year?
2022.
Yes.
It was concluded that the fuel, the asset purchase agreement was simply a vehicle
Just pause.
or an instrument that was used to enable the money to be paid from Namcor Trading.
Just pause. Yes.
Enacon had the opportunity and so did Mr. Mulonga from 18 July or 19 July, when the funds were paid, Your Worship. Until the time when Mr. Murunga was suspended. But nothing was done, Your Worship. And the evidence, Your Worship.
Just pause. Yes.
As I've indicated in terms of the entities I was reading, Your Worship, evidence indicated that some of the money or some of these funds went into the pockets of the staff members, or at least indirectly to the relative or the husband of Mr. Mukwaya, Your Worship. If one takes the amount of...
Just pause, just pause. Yes.
If one adds up the amount of 960,000 received in the personal account of Mr. Belemse.
Just pause there. Yes.
And $1,040,000 Namibian dollars which went into his entity, or rather an entity 100% interests held by him.
Which entity is that?
Parkwood.
Yes.
He received a gratification of at least 2 million. It is important to indicate that Mr. Belemse
Yes.
was instrumental in the acquisition of the assets by his employer from Namcor.
Just pause. Why do you say that, Chief?
Your Worship, he was one of the people that recommended the submissions or rather the motivations that was internally submitted at Namcor in order for Namcor Trading to acquire the concerned assets. He himself, Your Worship, and Ms. Dunasti,
Yes.
arranged and instructed Mr. Sam Hashela to compile the discounted cash flow report. And Your Worship, these are activities which they were executing in their official capacity at the time, and yet ended up receiving gratification from the same proceeds.
Just pausing. Yes.
Similarly, with Ms. Hamukwaya, Your Worship, she approved the payment in her official capacity.
Yes.
Following which an amount of 500,000 Namibian dollars was paid to Panduleni family. Which is her husband's, which was an entity held 100% by her husband.
Just pause. Whilst we are at Panduleni farming, were you able to follow the 500,000 that was paid into Panduleni farming CC account?
Your Worship, we were able to conduct financial analysis as far as the bank accounts are concerned, partial.
Yes.
I know altogether, Your Worship, when I've spoken about the gratifications that were received as a result of the fuel supply agreement, Your Worship, I know that there was an amount totaling 643, I'm speaking under correction, Your Worship, 643,000 that was paid into the mortgage, which I suppose is a home loan of Mr. and Ms. Hamukwaya. That was during the period May 2022 through to 17 December 2022. But I would still quantify how that was done because there were other additional payments that was received as a result of fuel supply.
Okay. You can continue.
Your Worship, investigations also.
Are you moving to a different topic? Or are you continuing?
Your Worship,
You may proceed, Chief.
investigations also established that there was a misrepresentation that was made by Mr. Peter and Malakia Elindi.
Yes.
In that they did not disclose that these assets, Namcor could not take ownership of the assets which Namcor was buying. And Your Worship, we are saying so because
Yes.
when the offer was made on the 15th of July, the commercial offer, on the 15th of July 2022, Namcor Trading specified what they wanted to buy. Before Enacon accepted the offer, they had the opportunity to change or to indicate
Just pause. Yes.
they could indicate that they were not selling the assets, for example, or that Namcor could not buy the assets which they had indicated in their offer. Similarly, so your worship, even when they signed the contract on the, your worship, the dates are a little bit tricky here. The commercial offer was on the 8th of July, not 15th. And I just need to be corrected on what I said. The commercial offer was on the 8th of July, whereas the signing of the agreement by Enacon was on the 15th of July.
Yes.
So similarly, on the 15th of July, when they signed the agreement, they also had the opportunity to specify as to what exactly they were offering to Namcor, but that was not done. Which caused Namcor Trading
Just pause. Yes.
to suffer an actual loss of 53,212,000, which has not been recovered to date.
Now, Chief, why are you saying Namcor suffered 53 million loss if 35 million was paid back to Namcor as per your testimony?
Your Worship, Enacon did not sell anything to Namcor to date. And if that is the case,
Just pause. Yes.
Enacon had used part of the 53 million to offset the debt. Basically, Enacon paid the debt it had with Namcor, with Namcor's money.
Okay.
Just slow down. No, you testified that Enacon did not sell anything to Namcor to date. Why do you say that?
Your Worship, Namcor never took ownership of any assets.
Just pause.
And Your Worship, this was enabled by Mr. Mulunga. in a sense that
Yes.
he bypassed all procedures in order to have that contract signed. Your Worship. Your Worship,
Just pause. You may proceed.
if Namcor never took ownership of the assets they intended to buy, Your Worship,
Yes.
there was no agency in not having followed the procedures.
Yes.
Mr. Mulunga was well aware of this accusation from the time he started planning to buy the assets.
Just pause. Yes.
In May 2020, until the time he left, until the time he was suspended, Your Worship. In April 2023. And failed to report this to the board of Namcor.
You
Or
fail to report what?
the acquisition of the assets.
Yes.
Your Worship, evidence has also shown that there was a conspiracy
Yes.
meaning there was a plan between Enacon and Your Worship. When I'm talking about Enacon, I'm referring to the two directors who accepted the offer and subsequently signed the contract.
Who are those?
Mr. Malakia and Peter Ely.
Okay.
Together with Mr. Mulunga, Mr. Belemse,
Just pause. Just pause. Yes.
Ms. Hamukwaya, and Mr. Nice.
Yes. You may proceed.
Hence, Your Worship, they did not do anything from the time such an agreement or the asset purchase agreement was signed
Just pause. Yes.
the value of the concerned asset paid to Enacon, nothing was done, Your Worship, until the matter was reported anonymously. And Your Worship, when I'm saying anonymously, it was reported to the then Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Shimi, and the board of Namcor during April 2023, which resulted into the internal investigations, among other issues that were being investigated.
If you're saying nothing was done, what do you mean by that? Can you please elaborate on that?
Yes, Your Worship. And I'm saying nothing was done because Namcor had entered into this agreement to buy assets. Assets which they did not use or own, whereas Enacom continued as though it was business as usual, to supplying fuel to Ministry of Defense and the subsequent use of those very assets that they sold to Namcor Trading.
You may continue.
Your Worship, I believe I can move to the fuel supply.
Pause. Before you move to the fuel supply agreement, did you do a financial analysis on the accounts of Cedric Willemse?
Your Worship, partial analysis has been done
Okay.
on most of the accounts that are involved.
Yes.
Which is how the commission was able to actually conclude that there were corrupt practices, as there were gratifications that were received even by staff members of Namcor.
Okay. You may proceed.
Your Worship, just to note that despite Enacon's account being zeroized,
Pause. Yes.
and what I mean when I'm saying zeroized is, on the 19th of July, 35 million was paid back to Namcor by Enacon, meaning the account of Enacon had a zero balance. So they did not owe Namcor anymore.
Okay. Just pause there. Yes.
Your Worship, between 1 August 2022 through to end November 2022,
Yes.
the debt of Enacon again rose to 35 million $651 million.
Please repeat the amount. 35 million.
35,747,651.
Yes.
You might be wondering, Your Worship, how I know this figure. It's because
Yes.
initially, when I started my testimony yesterday, I indicated that Mr. Kongoro, in Mr. Kongoro's statement when he reported the case, he indicated the value, the total value of the fuel that was not paid for by the two entities was a little over 277 million.
Which two entities?
Enacon and Erongo.
Just pause. What was the value of the fuel?
270, a little over 277 million.
Yes.
Of which 38 million was alleged to be the fuel that was supplied to Enacon, or the fuel that Enacon had not paid.
Yes.
Your Worship, during the investigations, we went back to Namcor. Where Your Worship, we requested records, invoices, in order to prove the allegations. In respect of the two entities, but for now I'll focus only on Enacon, and then when I go into Erongo, I'll also bring those ones up.
Could you just pause? Yes.
So, Your Worship, Namcor Trading was able to provide investigations with invoices totaling $35,747,651 million. For the period 1 August through to November 2022.
1 August to
November 2022. Your Worship, and these were invoices that were issued by Namcor Trading in regard to the fuel or petroleum products that were supplied by Namcor Trading to Enacon.
just pause. Yes.
And upon reconciling, Your Worship, that's why we had a different figure, slightly different figure from the figure that was reported in the initial statement of Mr. Kongoro.
Yes.
As these invoices were accompanied by the respective purchase orders that were issued by Enacon to Namcor.
Yes.
and also comprised of email approvals by the members of the credit committee. In this regards, the approval I'm referring for your worship is in respect of Ms. Amukwaya, Ms. Olivia, and Mr. Belenson.
Yes.
Your worship, the investigations noted that in the fuel supply agreement, one of the conditions was that when ENACON issued an invoice, or rather a purchase order to Namcor Trading,
Just pause there. Just repeat that and you can continue.
one of the conditions in the fuel supply agreement was that when ENACON issues a purchase order to Namcor Trading for the supply of fuel, such an order would be accompanied by a corresponding purchase order that was issued by the Ministry of Defense. Your worship,
Just pause there. Yes.
we could not find any corresponding purchase orders issued by the Ministry of Defense in the custody of Namcor Trading as per the agreement.
Yes.
Which meant that the supply of fuel by Namcor Trading, your worship, was contrary to their own, to the agreement.
Just pause.
As it was clearly spelled out, your worship, in the fuel supply agreement, that failure to providing a corresponding purchase order issued by the Ministry of Defense
Just pause. Yes.
that no fuel would be supplied to ENACON. But we know and have evidence proving that fuel was actually supplied to ENACON, despite there not being a government-issued purchase order.
Yes.
Your worship, the investigations proceeded back to the Ministry of Defense. In order to retrieve or obtain evidence in respect of the purchase orders that were issued by the Ministry of Defense in favor of the supply of fuel done to them by Namcor for the period 1 August through to November 2022, Your Worship. And the rationale for that, Your Worship, was because one of the conditions in the fuel supply agreement
Yes.
was that all the invoices issued by Namcor to defense will have Namcor's account ending with 520, Your Worship.
Yes.
Your Worship, the purchase orders invoices for the period I mentioned were obtained from the Ministry of Defense. And Your Worship, evidence
Yes.
indicated that Namcor had issued invoices for that period listing the account ending with an 848.
Yes.
Which
Just
contradicts
slow down. Which contradicts.
yes, which contradicted the terms and conditions of the agreement, of the fuel supply agreement. As it indicated, such invoices would have the account ending with 520, Your Worship. Which was a misrepresentation in this regard. Because the money would not have gone in the intended account, Your Worship. Your Worship, part of the...
Just pause there.
Just slow
pause.
down. You can proceed.
Your Worship, in order for a payment to be processed through a purchase order, Your Worship,
Just pause. Yes.
there is a verification process which is undertaken by the government in order to, among others, curb incidents of fraud.
Just pause. Continue.
Your Worship, which means there are different mechanisms that the government put in place in order for a payment to be finally made. There are makers and checkers within the finance streams.
Yes.
Part of this balance and checks, Your Worship, is verifying that a payment is made into an account number listed on the invoice attached to the specific quotation and purchase order.
You're saying the account listed on the invoice.
That's correct.
And who lists such account?
The account would be listed by the service provider, the person or the entity providing the invoice. What it means,
You
Your
just
Worship,
pause, just pause. Yes, what it means?
yes, what it means, Your Worship, an entity can have more than 2, 3, 4, 5 listed accounts with the Ministry of Finance.
Just pause there. Yes.
And the payment will be made to an account which is listed on the specific invoice at the time of payment.
Yes.
Your Worship, it was noted during the investigations that despite Enacon having incurred a debt of 35 million from March 2022 through to July 2022,
Just pause there. Please, may you just repeat that?
it was noted that despite Enacon having incurred the debt of 35 million,
Yes.
as a result of the fuel supply agreement signed on 16 March 2022,
Pause. Yes.
also taking into consideration that there was no credit guarantee provided by Enacon, it looks like Namcor trading through its credit committee members.
Just pause.
Mr. Willems and Ms. Hamukwaya and Ms. Dunaiski once again allowed the supply of fuel from 1 August through to November 2022 of the same amount, 35 million.
Yes.
This, when in fact, Your Worship, ENACON had already demonstrated from March 2022 to July, they had demonstrated their inability to honor their debts.
Yes.
In this regard, Your Worship, Namcor is exposed to the loss of that same amount because they supplied petroleum products. The credit committee members approved.
Just pause. Yes.
Which as a result created a gratification for ENACON.
A gratification for whom?
For ENACON.
What do you mean by that?
Because ENACON received fuel which they enjoyed selling to their customers, and of course not paying or making very little payments to Namcor as a result.
Your Worship, I do not want to, I just want to be thorough with what's going on here. May my colleague indicate the last part of evidence by the witness regarding the alleged gratification to ENACON. It is in relation to what charge? Can we just please know that, because we are beginning to fear that this is turning out into something else. Understood? In relation to what charge, so that for our note we know. Gratification to ENACON. In relation to it.
Do you want to answer that?
I'm not cross-examining your
Yes.
my colleague is leading the witness. She must answer to court. I'm not cross-examining.
Mrs. Sindo?
Your Worship, I'm leading the witness, but I'm not telling the witness what he has to testify. So if he says it's a gratification in relation to ENACON, then the follow-up question was to be, why do you mean gratification to ENACON?
Your Worship, why it is called leading of a witness is for the legal practitioner in front of you to direct the witness on matters that are relevant. So, all right, it's a simple question. That gratification to ENACON, we do not want to ambush, is in relation to what offense? My colleague is the public prosecutor in this court. If it is irrelevant, then we must not be made to be here listening to things that should be in a commercial court or somewhere else. All I'm asking, gratification is a technical, contextual term in terms of the Anti-Corruption Act. All I want to know It is in relation to what offense. That is it.
Bishop, the witness clearly testified that Enacon was duly represented by Peter Elinti and Malaki Elinti. So, and then he also informed this court that payments were made into the personal accounts of Peter and Malaki Elinti. So it is relevant.
Your Lordship, may we get the clarity we are seeking. There are a number, under Chapter 4 of the Anti-Corruption Act, there are a number of offenses dealing with offering or giving gratification. Gratification spoken about by the witness now suddenly relates to Enacon receiving gratification. All what we want to know, perhaps we misunderstood. It is in relation to which charge, your worship. And we need to be assisted by my colleague, and if she cannot, then she must say she cannot. It's not an objection, we just want to ask what clarity. Your worship.
Sir, can you just for now, yes, just, you are under oath. Mrs. Sinda?
Bishop, we have not gotten to the charges as yet. So when we get to the charges, we will lead the witness with regard to the specific charges listed.
Mr. Namanje, you heard what he said. Maybe we can move on for now.
Okay, we will see what happens.
Yes.
We hope and pray we will be able to get what offense he was talking about. But if it is not the case, if they will not be able to link this particular part of evidence to a particular offense, with greatest respect to your worship, I think it is time for all of us to be told that we are not here to hear things that are not relevant to them. Otherwise, we will never finish this bail application. My colleague can then proceed.
Bishop, we're only dealing with things that are relevant. You may proceed.
You can proceed for now.
We will tell you when you... In this regard, Namcor was exposed. That's where you can take off from.
Namcor suffered an actual prejudice, your worship, of the same amount.
Let's just get that quickly. Did you say the same amount or said amount?
It depends, your worship. I can be specific. 35 million.
Okay. You may proceed.
Your worship, the staff members of Namcor Trading, or Namcor itself, your worship.
Namcor Trading or Namcor itself?
Yes, your worship. The members of the credit
I just
committee.
want to know which
Yes,
one
Worship.
are you referring to?
Let me use the Namcor, the credit committee, your worship.
Okay. Which staff members, so that we can be sure?
Mr. Galamse, Ms. Amukwaya, and Ms. Edonaiski.
Yes.
Your worship failed to comply with their internal policies, your worship, of the credit policy when they authorized credit dispensations.
Just take it slow. Yes.
For the supply of fuel to Enacon.
You said they failed to comply with the credit policy. What do you mean? What were they supposed to comply with?
Your worship, In terms of Namcor's credit policy, they are not the only members of the credit committee.
Just pause. Yes.
Other members of the credit committee, Your Worship, were the head of legal, Mr. Molim Morocco, manager finance, Mr. Petrus Ainiko, Namcor's accountant, Mr. Peter Sivambo,
Yes.
these are members of the credit committee, and any request should have come through the credit committee in full. Although the other three, Your
Just
Worship,
slow down. Yes.
Your Worship, although the other three were not decision makers,
Yes.
they would make recommendations. Either
Just slow down, sir. Just slow down.
Yes.
either to approve or disapprove.
Yes.
Just before you proceed, can we just make space for Advocate Lilongwe there?
We will, Your Worship.
No, that council must move away, but just to space, maybe he can hear.
Yes.
Such was not done, Your Worship.
Now, what do you mean that they were not decision makers?
Your Worship, although the others were members of the committee, they would just make recommendations,
Yes.
and then the strategic executive finance, the strategic executive sales and marketing, a capacity in which Ms. Olivia was at the time acting, and as well as executive supplies, a capacity in which Mr. Willemse was also acting, Your Worship, would have been the decision makers. So the committee should sit or at least make an informed decision before deciding to approve or disapprove.
Just pause. Okay. You may proceed.
By looking at how the customer has been conducting themselves, how they've been repaying, and so forth and so on.
Yes.
And such was not done, Your Worship, in regards to the supply of fuel in excess of 15.5 million. Above the credit limits.
You may proceed.
Your Worship, I want to, for now, peg my evidence with regards to Enacom. There.
Maybe before you do, you are referring to credit limit. What is that?
Your Worship, the credit limit, this is the limit that was sanctioned when the customer was onboarded.
No, meaning what?
In
Yes.
this regards, Your Worship, it means the customer is allowed to receive product to a certain amount without having paid for the product. When Enacon was onboarded, Your Worship, through the fuel supply agreement of 16 March,
Just pause.
they were granted a credit limit of 15.5 million.
You can proceed.
Okay. Bishop, please, may we have a 10-minute health break? We can even make it 5. 5 or 10?
Yes, then the court briefly adjourns.
I need the phone.
I was thinking.